Hi, in this video we're going to be talking about inheritance, subclasses versus superclasses, and the super reference in Java. So what does inheritance look like? So inheritance just means that a class of things can get qualities from a class that's above that class. So for example, a mammal has all of the qualities that an animal would have, and an animal has all of the qualities that a thing would have. Now, a mammal is going to have more attributes and more specific attributes than, for example, an animal would, but a mammal would inherit everything that an animal also has. So a basic animal would be the parent of a mammal. And then on the right-hand side, you can look at a vehicle is the parent of a land vehicle, which then would be the superclass or parent of a human-powered vehicle versus a self-powered vehicle, and so on. And it goes down the chain, so the superclass would be above it, and the subclass would be below it. So inheritance is a relationship, and that relationship is different than an association. So, for example, a chicken has a wing. That means that a wing is associated with a chicken. But a chicken is not a wing. So a chicken is a wing sounds ridiculous because a chicken is not a wing. So that's just an association. Inheritance means that you actually are that thing and more. So for example, a car has a vehicle that makes no sense, but a car is a vehicle is inheritance because a car is a type of vehicle. So a car is more specific than a vehicle, hence it inherits all of the attributes of vehicle. A door has a handle, but a door is not a handle, so that would be an association. So the is a relationship implies inheritance. So a poodle is a dog. That means a poodle inherits all of the attributes and methods that you would see in the class of dogs. A poodle is a mammal. A poodle is an animal. A poodle is a thing. So each of these things are the parent of poodle. So each level is more specific than the previous version. So inheritance is a tool for extending existing classes by adding methods and instance fields. So it's a way to not repeat code over and over and over again. So a subclass will inherit all of the behavior and the state of the superclass. So for example, a mammal, if there was a class of mammals, then maybe that mammal class would have methods like eat, sleep, and speak. Now, dogs and cats are both mammals, and they would still get the same methods that exist in the mammal class if we make dog and cat subclasses of the mammal class. So they would get eat, sleep, and speak, but then maybe they have other methods inside them too. So they're kind of like a mammal, but better, more specific. So a cat, for example, could eat, sleep, speak, and also claw face as a method. Or a dog could also have a rollover method. So the class that's used in the base is the parent class, or what's called the superclass. So Java only supports single inheritance. So what that means is that the children will inherit characteristics from only one parent, meaning a child cannot have more than one parent. So like you can't have 3 mothers. So every child will inherit things from only one parent. Now, each child can have one parent, but each parent can have multiple children. So the parent class does not know any of its children, but each child is connected to its parent. So inheritance occurs between classes and not objects. So inheritance of a person. Here's another example. Person is very general. So person might have a name, address, birth date, etc. So those would all be attributes of your person class. Now, if the student class called the person class as their superclass, then the student would also get a name and an address and a birth date, but they would also have other attributes such as student ID, GPA, grade level, etc. And you can go down the ladder and continue with the chain of inheritance. So the super reference is what we use in order to call the constructor of a parent class within the child class. So constructors are not used from a child class. So in the parent class has no idea that the child is even there. But, so it's unaware of any subclasses. But for the subclass is aware of the superclass. And in order to call the constructor from the superclass, we call it inside the constructor for the subclass. And we'll talk about code for that in just a minute. So we're often going to want to use the parent's constructor to set up the parent's part of the subclass object. So for example, if we look at animal, right? When we're making a constructor or writing a constructor for a cat, then we're going to want to take all of the values that are already written in animal and call that in the constructor for cat. So the super reference can be used to refer to the parent class, and often it's used to invoke the parent's constructor. A child's constructor is responsible for calling the parent's constructor. So the first line of the constructor should use the super reference. So the super reference is a method that calls that constructor. So here's an example. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see superclass or parent class, and that class is cat. So the cat class has a few different private fields. There's name, weight, and color. And then notice here in the constructor, it says public cat string name, int weight, and string color. And so that constructor is just, standard constructor for a class. Then there's three methods: speak, get weight, and gain weight. Now over here, this is a subclass. So the subclass is house cat. And notice here, this is something new that you haven't seen before. So house cat extends cat. So extends cat just means that this keyword here in Java will tell you that the house cat class will get everything that the cat class has. So all of those instance variables, all of those methods that are written here will be included here. So in order to make sure that we are calling the constructor from the cat class after we extend cat up here in the class declaration, we're going to need to call super. So this is how you would do it. So notice that super here takes 3 parameters, and that's because the constructor here in the cat class takes 3 parameters. So you would put a name, a weight, and a color inside of the house cat constructor. Notice here that speak, the speak method, it calls all of the speak method from the cat class. So if you look, the cat class just has the cat say purr. But then in the speak method for the house cat, it's going to first call the speak method from your cat class, and then it's going to do additional things. So it's going to print meow as well as purring. So that's how you would call using super.speak to call the original speak method from the cat class. And then notice that you can include additional methods in the child class that aren't even at all in the parent class. So here's another example. So this class is a cat class again, but now it has another child. So that child would be the lion class. So the subclass is lion, and it also extends cat. So notice here, the same syntax is used. Public class lion extends cat. And then again, we're using the super keyword here to say, okay, super name, comma, weight, comma, color to call the constructor from the cat class. And then again, here with the speak method, in this case, the speak method is completely overriding the speak method from the previous example. So if you look at the cat and the house cat example, notice that here super.speak is going to print purr, and then it's going to also print meow because you're calling the speak method from the previous class and you're adding meow. But in this example, you are not doing super.speak inside of your speak method here, so that just straight up overrides it and it just prints roar. So you can do either or when you're creating methods that have the same name as the parent class. So inheritance is a method of extending existing classes by adding methods and fields. So it allows you to reuse code and not have to reinvent the wheel every time you make a subclass. And a superclass is just more general. So it's the more general class, and then the subclass is a class that is more specific. So the subclass is going to add functionality or change functionality, so override some methods. So for example, the lion class is going to have more things available in it than just the cat class. The cat class is more general. So the child is more specific and has more functionality than the parent. So the super reference is a keyword to call a method in the superclass. So the subclass constructor should always call the superclass constructor if it's in its first statement to ensure the superclass fields get properly initialized. So if you don't do that, so if you don't call super in the first line of the subclass constructor, then it's going to use the default constructor from the superclass. Now, if the superclass doesn't have a default constructor, so if it doesn't have a constructor that takes no parameters, then you're going to get an error. So, moral of the story, you should always call super at the very beginning of any subclass constructor. And that's it. So, after this lesson, we're going to try to write some classes of our own.